and then what followed was Operation Sindoor, and Defence Minister was actively part of that and meeting armed forces, 3 service chiefs, holding regular meeting and managing everything. And as Chief Prime Minister was leading the whole operation in the sense that when it comes to planning and the political leadership, providing political leadership. But when Defence Minister visits here, it tells one to show gratitude to the soldiers who have accomplished the mission, Operation Sindoor, but also bringing peace, peace also. And as Defence Minister arrives in Srinagar, there's an ongoing encounter in Tral, where 3 militants are believed to be killed. Police have so far confirmed only 1, but 2 are likely to be killed or may have been killed. We're just waiting for the information. So this is a process which is going at multiple levels, and the leadership of the country, Defence Minister himself, visiting there in itself a messaging that whatever armed forces do, they're not alone. The leadership is firmly behind them and with them.
Absolutely. That's the message that is conveyed to our braves here, to our armed forces here. But also at the same time, we understand even as the situation continues to remain tense in some pockets, some parts of Jammu Kashmir, as we've been talking about it, Nazir, earlier also, that slowly and gradually normalcy now has started to, I mean, that's a difficult word actually when it is used in the context of Jammu Kashmir. But we do hope that things change very soon. But schools have started opening. Again, shops, establishments have started reopening. The Amarnath Yatra is going to take place in some time from now. Are we really ready, or is it going to take time?
Of course, this place has seen worse in the past, and it has overcome that. It has a resilience, and people know how to navigate these things. They have done it. And clearly, security forces have always been ready and prepared for any eventuality when it comes to the security structure. It is very robust. There were some gaps, for example, when innocent people were killed, like tourists. Nobody had thought tourists would ever be targeted like this. It was a red line. So when those terrorists crossed that red line, India hit back at Pakistan. Now this Amarnath Yatra, of course, God belongs to everybody. It doesn't belong to any particular section or so. Yatris are going there, praying the way they want and they believe in. So it is everybody's yatra. It is yatra of Kashmir and it's yatra of whole India. So while the security remains a big concern for the yatra, given the fact there have been attempts in the past, and we also know the terrorists who involved in the massacre of tourists are still believed to be hiding in the same Pahalgam forest even as the operation is underway. But when the Defence Minister comes here, naturally there would be the review of whole situation, how to deal with this, how to go forward. And it appears that the targeting, Pakistan, hitting their bases would serve as deterrent, but many believe that it should.
Okay. All right. We understand now the centre and top ministers have also confirmed that a smooth Amarnath Yatra will take place. Well, it is starting. It is going to start from July 3rd. Not much time is left. But yes, there are concerns at the moment. But our forces on the ground are taking care of the challenge here, and also the centre lending all support to our armed forces, was Prime Minister Modi also making it very clear that in case of any eventuality, our forces are given a free hand. They're independent to carry out any action against Pakistan and the terror in Pakistan. All right, we'll keep an eye on the developments here, and we will get you more as more updates come in. Meanwhile, it's time for a quick break. Yeah, more continues on the other side.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's leading AI smartphone brand.
News is not just headlines, it is what impacts you. And news should never be mistaken for noise. What matters is the reality. Accurate, in-depth, and with the right perspective. For over 20 years, I have been a journalist, and never has clarity mattered more than now. At Newsnight, we go beyond the surface. We dissect the details, challenge the narratives, and bring you the unparalleled clarity you deserve in a world clouded by misinformation. We are bold, we are direct. Newsnight, for the news in your interest. Only on NDTV 24/7.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news is here.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of maximum city is infectious. I'm bringing that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti, also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
India's IT capital is always bustling, a city full of startups, stories and surprises. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
More news that matters.
Welcome back after the break. There's some big breaking news now coming in. We're learning in the Hyderabad deforestation case, top court has now warned the Telangana government, and the Supreme Court has now asked the state government to take steps to restore the forest area. The Supreme Court has also said that prima facie, this looks like it was pre-planned. Well, my colleague Uma Sudhir joins us. She's been tracking this story since some time now. Well, take us through the details. We understand the top court has now pulled up the Telangana government as well.
Yes, indeed. The top court, now headed, of course, by the new Chief Justice, V.R. Gawai, has very sharp words for the Telangana government and clearly said that getting the trees cut or deforestation to happen over the weekend does appear to be a pre-planned move on the part of the government, and even threatened that there could be a contempt that could be taken up, and even said that those officers, he said half a dozen officers of the Telangana government who had allowed this to happen or who had planned this to happen could be sent to a temporary prison. We can make arrangement for that, is what the Chief Justice said. Mr. Singhvi, arguing on behalf of the Telangana government, said that all activity has stopped in the Kanchagachibowli area in terms of tree felling, and he also said that a lot of restoration is happening and a lot of forestation activity is happening, and to that the council who is on behalf of those opposing the Telangana government's actions, Mr. Parameshwar, said that that forestation is not in the Kanchagachibowli area, and that Mr. Singhvi is referring to forestation that's happening elsewhere in the state. Three main takeaways that I must point out in this case. One, of course, that the next hearing in the case will happen on the 23rd of July. The second is that the court continues to maintain that restoration of the forest must happen and that we are for sustainable development. This was in fact response to Abhishek Singhvi, in fact, arguing with the court that don't I have an opportunity, why should I be denied the opportunity to convince the court that an IT park and ecology can go together, to which the court said that in fact thousands of trees had been cut, and to which again Singhvi said that it's about 147 trees is what is the number that he pointed out. But counsel who was arguing on behalf of the Kanchagachibowli area being restored said that forest ground reports had in fact said that 60% of the area that had been deforested was actually moderately or densely, very dense forest, and therefore this needs to be, the restoration work, if at all being done, needs to be done in the month of June when monsoons would happen in Hyderabad, and therefore the timeline was also sensitive, he said. But the court, in order to give some time for filing of the counters on the plea of Mr. Singhvi, has set the date for 23rd of July.
All right. Thank you so much, Ruma Sudhir, for getting us all those details there. We'll come back to you later as more comes in. Meanwhile, this is what we're learning. The top court rap on the Telangana government clearly saying that they need to take steps to restore the forest area. However, we understand a lot of damage has already been done. How the state government is going to compensate that of course remains to be seen, and if they are actually interested in doing so, their intent is also something that really matters. We've all seen those videos and pictures that had come out earlier of the deforestation that was carried out at this land, and how the flora and fauna also suffered because of the activity that was taken up by the state government. Well, shifting our focus now to some more news that we're tracking here. President Draupadi Murmu has now asked the Supreme Court to clarify 14 questions of law regarding the powers of the President and governors. These questions involve setting a timeline for the governor and President's assent to bills and the use of the Supreme Court's extraordinary powers under Article 142 of the Constitution to deliver complete justice. Well, President Draupadi Murmu has asked the Apex Court how it could have given such a ruling when the Constitution had no such stipulations. My colleague Nupur gets us more on that.
Supreme Court enjoys three kinds of powers. One is the appellate, another is original, and third is advisory. Now, the most important power of the Supreme Court is the original jurisdiction, where it is vested with powers by the Constitution to adjudicate upon disputes arising between states and center, or any kind of federal issue between two states or more. So, the advisory jurisdiction under the Article 143 of the Constitution provides for this particular provision that in case of any question of law that is of public interest, if there is a question that has been arised out of any dispute, the President may write to the Supreme Court and refer certain questions and seek their opinion. Now remember, the Supreme Court's opinion on this reference is not binding under Article 142. So this is the question, legality of this particular reference. But what is the significance? It is in fact a very significant reference, because now this entire reference has now raised question on the Supreme Court's verdict itself. The most important question that the President has raised in the reference is that should the Supreme Court not have constituted a 5-judge bench to answer the questions that were raised before it when it comes to the powers of the President and governors to withhold the assent of the bill. Remember, the Tamil Nadu governor judgment was passed by a 2-judge bench, which was a regular bench. Constitutional bench are constituted generally to answer the key questions that arise out of interpretation of Constitution. Now, the President Draupadi Murmu has written to the Supreme Court while raising several questions on the contentions on the judgment that was made by the Supreme Court in the Tamil Nadu governor's judgment. It has asked the Supreme Court whether should these judgments should have been referred to a 5-judge constitutional bench or not. Now, but it is in fact now Supreme Court's prerogative whether it wants to constitute a 5-judge constitutional bench to answer this question. Whether what it decides to do is solely the Supreme Court's prerogative in this case.
All right. That's the latest coming in at the moment. We have some breaking news also coming in. A fire now has erupted in Delhi University College. Those visuals on your TV screens there. The fire broke out in the Guru Gobind College library. We are given to understand that 11 fire tenders are at the spot and the firefighting operations are underway. Well, the blaze erupted on at least 3 floors of this library, we are given to understand. This is the Guru Gobind College library in Delhi University, where this fire has been reported from. Those visuals on your TV screens coming in from the Guru Gobind College library here. All right. Well, my colleague Anushka will also be joining us on the broadcast. She's getting us more about the situation there on the ground. Anushka, what are we learning now? Is the situation under control, or is the firefighting operation still underway?
The cooling process is still underway, Kitty. What we are learning from our sources is that the fire broke out on the first, second, and third floor of the Guru Gobind Singh, College of Commerce, and inside the library of the college, and also the fire tenders were rushed. 11 fire tenders were rushed to the spot where we can clearly see the visuals of the fire, the plumes of smoke billowing from the building. 11 fire tenders were at the site. Now the fire has been doused. The cooling process is still going on. The cause of the fire is still not clear as of yet, as per the Delhi Fire Service sources. And also, what we are getting to know is that no injury or casualty has been reported so far in this fire incident. And also, what the fire officials have said that the investigation is going on to understand the reason behind the fire that took place in the building. The first, second, third floor of the building caught fire. This building comprises of 3 floors, and the ground floor was the only floor where things were operational. And in the library of the buildings, the fire caught, and because of that, heavy loss has in fact been incurred in the building. The library has totally been incinerated inside the college, and also no casualty has been reported so far as per the fire officials. Over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Anushka, for getting us those details there. Well, those are visuals coming in from Pitampura in New Delhi, where this fire broke out at the college. We have now visuals coming in of Defence Minister Rajnath Singh in Jammu Kashmir. He reached a while back. He is at the army headquarters now. Well, those visuals of the Defence Minister meeting our braves, our armed forces here at the army headquarters in Srinagar. On your TV screens there, accompanying him is the LG as well. Well, we understand top ministers here from the national capital are heading to Jammu Kashmir after now the ceasefire agreement between India and Pakistan is in place. We understand Civil Aviation Minister Rammohan Naidu is also expected to visit Jammu Kashmir and take stock of the situation on the ground. About we understand about the services and the facilities at the airport there. These are latest visuals coming in of Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, and he's meeting the Braves Armed Forces personnel there at the army headquarters in Srinagar at the moment. Those visuals coming in. Well, after Prime Minister Modi, we understand other top ministers from the centre are also now visiting Jammu Kashmir. The situation is slowly now coming back to normalcy. However, it's going to take some time given the fact that the last few days have been quite tense, and after the Pahalgam massacre in which 26 innocent lives were lost, it's definitely going to take some time for the situation to become normal again in Jammu Kashmir. However, the centre has assured that tourism will soon return to Jammu Kashmir, and they are also going to ensure that a smooth Amarnath Yatra also is carried out as it starts in the month of July. All right, my colleague Nazir Masoodi also now joins us on the broadcast. Nazir, we understand the Defence Minister has reached the army headquarters. He is meeting the armed forces personnel there.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we have been reporting this morning, that he's meeting soldiers who have been part of this combat last week and have accomplished the mission. This is also, this visit is a gratitude, showing leadership, showing the gratitude towards armed forces, as Prime Minister in his address to the nation talked about the entire country salutes the armed forces. Next morning he visited Adampur Air Force Base, and now Defence Minister visiting Srinagar. Of course, when he lands in Srinagar, which is also next to the Srinagar Air Base, and then visiting 15 Corps headquarters, meeting soldiers, meeting officers. So it's not just that he would review the security situation post ceasefire, and the government would surely factor in what has been accomplished in a sense when it comes to the tactical and the strategic outcomes of the Operation Sindoor. but also there's an internal dynamics of the situation when it comes to militancy. As Defense Minister is in Srinagar, our army and the police are engaged in an encounter in Tral where one militant has been killed, two are still believed to be holed up or may have been killed by now. So it is a host of things, and then there's Amarnath Yatra, which will start from a month from now, month and a half from now. So all these things would be discussed by the Defense Minister during his visit, and he will be going back to Delhi also today. But this visit clearly shows that leadership in the country are firmly behind the armed forces and showing the collective resolve of the country that it was not just the armed forces, but the people and the leadership are firmly behind them. And Home Minister also trying to send a message after the ceasefire understanding between India and Pakistan. Now also things are returning to normalcy in Jammu and Kashmir, also in the border areas where schools after almost a week-long closure have been opening in most of the border areas in Jammu and Kashmir.
School, shops, establishments, we understand, are now gradually reopening in these areas, well, in various regions across Jammu Kashmir, and we are now given to understand the centre has also assured that the Amarnath Yatra would also be carried out as it has been done in the last few years as well. But Defence Minister Rajnath Singh here in Jammu Kashmir taking stock of the situation on the ground, meeting the armed forces personnel as well. This definitely also, Nazir, is being looked as a big boost for the morale of the armed forces. Of course, the whole credit of Operation Sindoor goes to our armed forces, to their valor, their bravery, of course, how effectively and successfully the operation was carried out. But Defence Minister's visit also sends out a strong message there.
Of course, when Defence Minister visits Srinagar, it has its own message because this all started from here after Pahalgam massacre of innocent people. And India decided to hit back at those who are behind it, not just the terrorists, but also their handlers and the government. But Prime Minister said that we would treat them equally. So it's Defence Minister's visit at this time after Prime Minister visited Adampur Air Force Base. So this is a very, very significant run, and also showing the resolve of the country, collective resolve of the country, and armed forces are representing that. And 15 Corps is a Army's really prestigious corps, which is not only dealing with internal security situation, militancy for last more than 3 decades, it's also guarding the border. Particularly, we have seen cross-border shelling during this the clash between India and Pakistan. And then that we see how Army has effectively retaliated and targeted military posts across the line of control and any terror launch pads. So that is what 15 Corps has been doing, and that's what entire country knows the work of the, what 15 Corps has been doing all these years, and particularly in last 1 week when we see this Operation Sindoor, where 15 Corps played a key role.
Rajnath Singh there then in Srinagar interacting with the Operation Sindoor heroes and our brave armed forces personnel, as my colleague, of course, Nazir has been informing us. The Chinar Corps or the 15 Corps of the Indian Army, which is located in Srinagar, is responsible for military operations in the Kashmir Valley, and all credit goes to our brave armed forces personnel who effectively carried out this operation against terror groups in Pakistan as well as in POK. But situation, of course, is going to take some time for the situation to come back to normal in Jammu Kashmir. However, we understand that the establishments or institutes in various regions across Jammu Kashmir have also now started reopening. Well, the Aviation Minister is also going to visit J&K. We are given to understand, Nazir, when is the Civil Aviation Minister going to visit Jammu Kashmir, and what is he going to look at?
Well, Aviation Minister was supposed to be visit here today, both Srinagar and Jammu, to see because how these airports were badly disrupted for several days. First, the airports remained shut for the civilian flight, and then after they were opened, it's actually resuming. only few flights operate from Srinagar and Jammu because of the circumstances, and of course, there would be losses. The air carriers would also suffer. So, given the fact that what we have witnessed over the last 1 week, so Aviation Minister, Ram Mohan Naidu, he is visiting Srinagar and also in Jammu this afternoon to take stock of the situation, review the situation, and see what these operators can do to increase the number of flights. And also there have been issues with regard to the airfares. Before this situation arose, there was a lot of complaint about airfares in Jammu and Kashmir, though they have come down because very few travel to Jammu and Kashmir. Very few tourists actually come here. Rather, if you say no tourists come here, that would not be, exaggeration. But the fact is that when you see Defense Minister visiting here, Aviation Minister visiting here, it also shows the seriousness of the government, central government, to restore the normal work of the government. And when you restore the aviation shows the life, aviation shows the connectivity, air traffic, and it connects the country and the world. So it is so important to restore the services from Srinagar Airport and Jammu Airport fully as soon as possible.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Nazir, for getting us all those details there. Well, also visuals coming in from Srinagar, from the Army headquarters here of the Defence Minister, and we understand other ministers from the central government also would be visiting Jammu Kashmir. Meanwhile, this is the latest that we're picking up at the moment. Well, with that, it's time to wrap this edition. More news and updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's leading AI smartphone brand.
Tom Cruise brought the house down at the 2025 Cannes Film Festival with the world premiere of Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. The film earned a 5-minute standing ovation at Cannes.
If it matters to you, if it matters to you, if it matters to you, it matters to India, it matters to India, and it matters to me, and it matters to me.
India Matters with Shivaru, only on NDTV 24/7.
How often have you turned away from debates that descend into endless fights? We bring you a show where every question is answered, where every debate finds its resolution, where every story finds its conclusion, where opinions collide but facts prevail, where stories unfold with insights and trust. When the noise ends, the last word begins.
The last 1 month, if you see, the share prices of Denzol Engineering has fallen more than 58%.
Why are the rating firms calling the debt payments as default?
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh visits Jammu and Kashmir after Prime Minister Modi's visit to Adhampur. Is Rajnath Singh there meeting with the armed forces? Massive terror crackdown in Jammu and Kashmir. One terrorist has been killed during an encounter that's taken place in Pulwama. There are more terrorists In fact, do remember 3 terrorists were killed in Shopian just on Tuesday. So 2 back-to-back encounters that have taken place in Jammu and Kashmir. And it is BJP's Srinagar Yatra across India, and this is in regard to Operation Sindoor. It's Congress's counter with Jai Hind Sabhas from the 20th of this month. And go and apologize is what the Supreme Court has gone on to say while pulling up the MP who made those remarks against Colonel Qureshi. An FIR has been registered against the minister. Do remember it was the High Court's order, and that is what he had in fact gone on to knock the door of the Supreme Court in this regard. But the Supreme Court there also asking the man to go apologize to Colonel Qureshi. Russian President Putin is going to be skipping that very crucial meeting that is coming up in Istanbul today. Do remember it was Zelensky and Putin who were expected to meet in Istanbul. Donald Trump had also offered to be there, but Trump and Putin missing that crucial meeting. All eyes on that crucial meeting because this is the first of its kind since 2022. A very good afternoon. You're watching NDTV 24/7. I'm Divya Vadva. We have a whole lot lined up for you. Of course, let's just first get your top story, and that is in regard to the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh there in Jammu at the air base, meeting with the troops. Rajnath Singh there visiting the army cantonment in Srinagar, boosting the morale of the troops in Jammu and Kashmir. A very crucial and a very significant visit, and this is really, just on the heels of Prime Minister Modi's visit to Adampur's air base. So there, of course, Rajnath Singh there, meeting with the armed forces in order to review the situation on the ground, to pat the back of the soldiers, the Jawans, and of course to thank them for the sacrifice as well as for the success of Operation Sindoor. So Rajnath Singh there in Jammu and Kashmir for that, day-long visit there, a very significant visit coming in right on the heels of Prime Minister Modi. He is in Srinagar meeting with the army troops. The Defence Minister there who arrived early this morning. This is the first visit to the valley after India's Operation Sindoor. And during this visit, he is reviewing the overall security situation in order to combat the readiness as well of the Indian Armed Forces. He is going to be visiting, of course, he is interacting with the army personnel. A lot lined up in this, one-day visit of the Defence Minister. Do remember that Prime Minister Modi was in Adampur. Adampur was among the first Air Force stations that Pakistan attempted to attack on the intervening night of May 9th and 10th after India's Operation Sindoor. And Pakistan also claimed its hypersonic missiles fired from JF-17 fighter jets destroyed India's S-400 air defence system in Adampur, a charge completely rejected by the Indian official. The Prime Minister there delivering a strong message from the tarmac at the Adampur Air Force base. Do remember with that background of the S-400 air defence system in that frame with the Prime Minister. So, of course, now it is Rajnath Singh there. Let's listen in to Rajnath Singh there visiting and interacting with the army personnel. He's also expected to...
जम्मू कश्मीर के लेफ्टिनेंट गवर्नर श्री मनोज जी सिन्हा, जम्मू कश्मीर के मुख्यमंत्री जनाब अमर अब्दुल्ला साहब, चीफ ऑफ आर्मी स्टाफ जनरल उपेंद्र जी द्विवेदी, GOC नॉर्दर्न कमांड लेफ्टिनेंट जनरल प्रतीक शर्मा, GOC 15 कोर लेफ्टिनेंट जनरल प्रशांत श्रीवास्तव और हमारी आर्म्ड फोर्सेस के सारे अफसर्स और मेरे बहादुर जवानों, सबसे पहले आतंकवाद और आतंकवादियों से लड़ते हुए हमारे जिन बहादुर जवानों ने अपनी शहादत दी है, उनकी शहादत को मैं नमन करता हूं, उनकी मैं स्मृति को नमन करता हूं। और साथ ही पहलगाम में जो निर्दोष नागरिक आतंकवादियों के द्वारा मारे गए हैं, उनकी भी स्मृति को मैं नमन करता हूं। मैं हमारे घायल सैनिकों के साहस को भी नमन करता हूं और ईश्वर से यह प्रार्थना करता हूं कि वह जल्द से जल्द स्वस्थ हो जाएं। मेरे दोस्तों, इन विषम परिस्थिति में आप सबके बीच आज आकर मैं स्वयं को बहुत ही गौरवान्वित महसूस कर रहा हूं। हमारे प्रधानमंत्री माननीय नरेंद्र मोदी जी के कुशल नेतृत्व और मार्गदर्शन में ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के दौरान आपने जो कुछ भी किया है उस पर पूरे देश को गर्व की अनुभूति हो रही है। मैं अभी भले ही आपका रक्षा मंत्री हूं, लेकिन उससे पहले तो मैं भारत का एक नागरिक हूं। रक्षा मंत्री के साथ साथ मैं आज भारत के नागरिक के रूप में भी आप सबके प्रति आभार व्यक्त करने के लिए यहां मौजूद हूं। पहलगाम हमले के बाद हमारे जम्मू कश्मीर की जनता ने पूरी एकजुटता के साथ और पाकिस्तान और साथ ही साथ आतंकवादियों के प्रति जिस प्रकार से अपने गुस्से का इजहार किया है, मैं जम्मू कश्मीर की जनता का भी अभिनंदन करता हूं। मेरे साथियों, आपकी उस ऊर्जा को महसूस करने आया हूं जिसने दुश्मनों को नष्ट नाबूद कर दिया है। आपने जिस तरीके से सीमा के उस पार पाकिस्तान की चौकियों और बंकरों को आपने ध्वस्त किया, दुश्मन मैं समझता हूं उसे कभी भूल नहीं सकता। आपने देखा होगा कि आमतौर पर लोग जोश में होश खो देते हैं, लेकिन आपने जोश भी रखा, होश भी रखा और सूझबूझ के साथ दुश्मनों के ठिकानों को आपने बर्बाद किया है। आज मैं यहां रक्षा मंत्री के साथ साथ एक मैसेंजर के रूप में भी आप सबके सामने मौजूद हूं। पूरे देश की शुभकामनाएं, उनकी प्रार्थनाएं और उनकी कृतज्ञता को लेकर आप सबके बीच यहां मैं मौजूद हूं। एक तरह से आप समझिए कि मैं एक डाकिया बनकर आपके बीच आया हूं और देशवासियों का संदेश लाया हूं। संदेश यह है कि हमें हमारी सेनाओं पर गर्व है। साथियों, ऑपरेशन सिंदूर सिर्फ एक ऑपरेशन का नाम भर नहीं है, बल्कि यह एक हमारी प्रतिबद्धता है, यह हमारा एक कमिटमेंट है। एक ऐसी प्रतिबद्धता जिसमें भारत ने दिखा दिया कि हम सिर्फ डिफेंस नहीं करते हैं, जब वक्त आता है तो हम कठोर निर्णय भी लेते हैं और कठोर कार्रवाई भी करते हैं। यह ऑपरेशन उस एक एक जवान की आंखों में देखा गया सपना था कि हर आतंकी ठिकाना, चाहे वह घाटियों में छुपा हो या बंकरों में दबा हो, हम वहां पहुंचेंगे और दुश्मन की छाती चीरकर हम उन आतंकी ठिकानों को खत्म करके ही हम वापस लौटेंगे। मेरे साथियों, ऑपरेशन सिंदूर आतंकवाद के खिलाफ भारत द्वारा चलाई गई अब तक के इतिहास की, मैं मानता हूं, यह सबसे बड़ी कार्रवाई है। 35-40 वर्षों से भारत सरहद पार से चलाई जा रही आतंकवाद का सामना कर रहा है। आज भारत ने पूरी दुनिया को यह साफ कर दिया है, यह स्पष्ट कर दिया है कि आतंकवाद के खिलाफ हम किसी भी हद तक जा सकते हैं। साथियों, आतंकवादियों ने पहलगाम में आतंकवादी घटना को अंजाम देकर भारत के मस्तक पर चोट पहुंचाने की कोशिश की है। भारत की सामाजिक एकता को तोड़ने का भी प्रयास किया गया है। उन्होंने भारत के माथे पर वार किया, हमने उनकी छाती पर वार किया है और छाती पर घाव किया है। पाकिस्तान के जख्मों का इलाज इसी बात में है कि वह भारत विरोधी और आतंकवादी संगठनों को पनाह देना बंद करे और अपनी जमीन का इस्तेमाल भारत के खिलाफ किसी भी सूरत में न होने दे। साथियों, आपको याद होगा कि लगभग 21 साल पहले स्वर्गीय अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी जी के सामने इसी पाकिस्तान ने इस्लामाबाद में डिक्लेरेशन किया था कि अब उनकी धरती से आतंकवाद एक्सपोर्ट नहीं किया जाएगा। मगर पाकिस्तान ने भारत को धोखा दिया है, पाकिस्तान ने भारत को छला है और आज भी वह धोखा दे रहा है। इसका खामियाजा अब उसको भारी कीमत करके भुगतना पड़ा है और यह कीमत, यदि आतंकवादी वारदातें चलती रहीं तो लगातार यह बढ़ने ही वाली है। हमारे प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने दो टूक शब्दों में आतंकवाद के खिलाफ भारत की नीति को रीडिफाइन कर दिया है, इसे परिभाषित कर दिया है, जो यह कहती है कि हिंदुस्तान की सरजमी पर किया गया कोई भी आतंकी हमला एक एक्ट ऑफ वार माना जाएगा। दोनों देशों में जो अंडरस्टैंडिंग बनी है फिलहाल वह इसी बात को लेकर है कि सरहद पार से कोई बेजा हरकत अब नहीं की जाएगी। अगर की गई तो बात निकलेगी तो बहुत दूर तक जाएगी। साथ ही हमारे प्रधानमंत्री ने यह भी साफ कर दिया है, आतंक और बातचीत कदापि एक साथ नहीं चलेंगे, और अगर बात होगी तो आतंकवाद पर होगी और पाक ऑक्युपाइड कश्मीर पर ही होगी। साथियों, ऑपरेशन सिंदूर की कामयाबी ने पाकिस्तान में छिपे आतंकी संगठनों और उनके आकाओं को भी यह साफ बता दिया है कि वे कहीं भी अपने आप को महफूज और सुरक्षित न समझें। अब वे हमारे बहादुर भारतीय सेनाओं के निशाने पर हैं। दुनिया जानती है हमारी सेनाओं का निशाना अचूक है, और वो जब वो निशाना लगाते हैं तो गिनती करने का काम वह दुश्मनों पर छोड़ देते हैं। साथियों, आज आतंकवाद के खिलाफ भारत की प्रतिज्ञा कितनी कठोर है इसका पता इसी बात से चलता है कि हमने उनके न्यूक्लियर ब्लैकमेल की भी परवाह नहीं की है। पूरी दुनिया ने देखा है कि कैसे गैर जिम्मेदाराना तरीके से पाकिस्तान द्वारा भारत को अनेक बार एटमी धमकियां दी गई हैं। आज श्रीनगर की धरती से मैं पूरी दुनिया के सामने यह सवाल उठाना चाहता हूं कि क्या ऐसे गैर जिम्मेदार और रोग नेशन के हाथों में परमाणु हथियार सुरक्षित हैं? मैं दुनिया के सामने यह सवाल खड़ा करना चाहता हूं। मैं मानता हूं कि पाकिस्तान के एटमी हथियारों को IAEA इंटरनेशनल एटॉमिक एनर्जी एजेंसी की निगरानी में लिया जाना चाहिए। मैं ये कहना चाहूँगा और साफ तौर पर कहना चाहूँगा। साथियों, हमारी सेनाओं हमारी सीमाओं पर अपनी मातृभूमि की रक्षा के लिए जिस तरह से आप सभी बिना रुके बिना थके दिन रात लगे रहते हैं, वह अपने आप में अद्भुत है और अद्वितीय भी है। आपकी यही बातें हम सब भारतीयों के लिए मार्गदर्शक का कार्य करती हैं। यही कारण है कि मैं हमेशा आपसे मिलने के लिए उत्साहित रहता हूं, ताकि आपके अंदर की ऊर्जा से हम सब भी कुछ प्रेरणा ले सकें। साथियों, आतंकियों ने पहलगाम में धर्म पूछकर हमारे निर्दोष लोगों को मारा। उसके बाद आपने जो जवाब दिया उसे पूरी दुनिया ने देखा है। उन्होंने यह नहीं सोचा कि आम नागरिकों ने उनका क्या बिगाड़ा है, उन्होंने ऐसा क्या किया है कि उन्हें मार दिया जाए। पर मैं यह कहना चाहूँगा, आतंकियों ने भारतीयों को धर्म पूछकर देख कर मारा, धर्म पूछ कर मारा, तो हमने आतंकियों को उनका कर्म देख कर मारा है। उन्होंने धर्म देखकर बेगुनाहों की जान ली, यह पाकिस्तान का कर्म था। हमने कर्म देखकर उनका खात्मा किया, यह हमारा भारतीय धर्म है। एक रक्षा मंत्री के रूप में मुझे आप सबको बेहद नज़दीक से वर्षों से जानने का और समझने का अवसर मिला है। मैं आपके साहस और पराक्रम को तो जानता ही हूँ, साथ ही साथ पहलगाम जैसी घटना के प्रति आपके गुस्से को भी मैं अच्छी तरह जानता हूँ। साथियों, मुझे पता है कि पहलगाम के बाद आपके अंदर गुस्सा था, पूरे देश के अंदर गुस्सा था। मुझे पता है कैसा महसूस होता है जब धमनियों में बह रहा रक्त बेकाबू होने लगे, और मुझे इस बात की खुशी भी है कि आपने अपने गुस्से को सही दिशा देते हुए बड़ी बहादुरी और सूझबूझ के साथ पहलगाम का बदला लिया है। रही बात पाकिस्तान की, तो उसकी बात ही क्या करूं आपसे। वह देश तो मांगते मांगते अपनी जहालत से एक ऐसी हालात में आ गया है कि उसके बारे में यह भी कहा जा सकता है कि पाकिस्तान जहां भी खड़ा होता है वहीं से मांगने वालों की लाइन प्रारंभ हो जाती है। अभी आपने सुना ही होगा कैसे वह फिर एक बार इंटरनेशनल मॉनेटरी फंड IMF के पास कर्ज मांगने गया। वहीं दूसरी तरफ हमारा देश है कि हम आज उन देशों की श्रेणी में आते हैं जो IMF को फंड देते हैं ताकि IMF गरीब देशों को कर्ज दे सके। ऐसी स्थिति में हमारा यह भारत है। रामचरितमानस में स्वामी तुलसीदास जी ने लिखा है, जहां सुमतितः संपत्ति नाना, जहां कुमतितः विपत्ति निदाना। यानी जहां सुमति होती है, अच्छी नीतियां होती हैं, वहां सुख और समृद्धि होती है, और जहां कुमति होती है, बुरी मति होती है, केवल दूसरों के हित की भावना होती है, वहां तरह तरह की विपत्तियां स्वाभाविक रूप से आती ही हैं। पाकिस्तान जिसका जीता जागता यह उदाहरण है। साथियों, भारत के बारे में पूरी दुनिया यह बात जानती है कि हमने हमेशा शांति को प्राथमिकता दी है। हम आमतौर पर युद्ध के समर्थक कभी नहीं रहे, लेकिन स्थितियां जब इतनी विकट हो जाएं, जब देश की संप्रभुता पर आक्रमण होने लगे, तो जवाब देना यह आवश्यक हो जाता है। राष्ट्रकवि रामधारी सिंह दिनकर जी की पंक्तियां आपके सामने रखना चाहूंगा। रुग्ण होना चाहता कोई नहीं, रुग्ण होना चाहता कोई नहीं, रोग लेकिन आ गया जब पास हो तिक्त औषधि, कड़वी औषधि। तिक्त औषधि के सिवा उपचार क्या, शमित होगा वह नहीं मिष्ठान्न से। यानी कोई बीमारी अगर लग जाए वह मिठाई से दूर नहीं होती है, उसके लिए कड़वी दवा ही काम करती है। इसलिए आतंकवाद जैसे रोग के लिए भी ऑपरेशन सिंदूर जैसी दवा की बड़ी जरूरत हो गई थी। साथियों, पूरे देश में हमारी सेनाओं को और हमारे सैनिकों को एक सम्मान की दृष्टि से देखा जाता है। एक सशक्त राष्ट्र वही होता है जो अपनी सेनाओं को सम्मान के साथ साथ आधुनिक हथियार और साजो सामान भी दे जिसकी उसे जरूरत है। मुझे गर्व है कि आज प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में सरकार हमारी सेनाओं के लिए यह सब सारा काम कर रही है। हमने यह सुनिश्चित किया है कि हमारी सेनाएं हर परिस्थिति के लिए तैयार रहें। और मैं यहाँ पर आर्मी चीफ जनरल उपेंद्र द्विवेदी जी को भी बधाई देना चाहता हूँ, क्योंकि बार बार मेरी चर्चा होती रही है और बार बार मैं यह पूछता हूँ कि जो भी आवश्यकताएं हैं उन आवश्यकताओं को पूरा करने के लिए हम पूरी तरह से तैयार हैं। और इसलिए इसके लिए हम वर्ल्ड क्लास बेहतरीन गुणवत्ता वाले साजो सामान अपनी सेनाओं को देने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। आज आधुनिक राइफल्स, मिसाइल डिफेंस शील्ड और ड्रोन्स जैसी नई पीढ़ी के कई इक्विपमेंट को तेजी से भारत में ही बनाया जा रहा है। साथियों, इसके अलावा सीमावर्ती इलाकों में हमने जो काम किया है वो आप सब देख रहे होंगे। आज LAC और LOC पर भी कनेक्टिविटी है, वैसी पहले शायद कभी नहीं थी। हमने हर स्तर पर यह दिखाया है कि हमारी सरकार केवल युद्ध भूमि पर ही नहीं बल्कि व्यक्तिगत रूप से और पारिवारिक रूप के साथ अपने सेना के जवानों के साथ खड़ी है। साथियों, अंत में एक बार फिर आप सभी को आपके शौर्य और पराक्रम के लिए हृदय से हार्दिक बधाई देता हूं। मैं आपको यह आश्वासन देता हूं कि हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में देश की सरकार और देश की जनता हर कदम पर, हर स्थिति में आपके साथ कंधे से कंधा मिलाकर खड़ी है। मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि आपके सहयोग से हम इस पूरे क्षेत्र में आतंकवाद का समूल नाश करेंगे, ताकि कल को कोई भारत की संप्रभुता के खिलाफ आंख उठाने की हिमाकत न कर सके। इसी आशा और विश्वास के साथ आप सबके शौर्य और पराक्रम की सराहना करते हुए और आप सभी को अपनी हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं देते हुए अपना निवेदन समाप्त करता हूं। बोलिए जय हिंद, जय हिंद। यहाँ का घोष वाक्य क्या है? इस भारत माता की जय है। क्या बात है? बहुत अच्छे।
Well, the sacrifice of the armed forces there being saluted by the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh. This really comes at the heels of Prime Minister Modi's visit to J&K. Well, this is Rajnath Singh there saying that Operation Sindoor is a big commitment and it's a major signal to the terrorists, the biggest operation against terror, while Pakistan has to stop sheltering terrorists, and also talking about how Pakistan has been betrayed by the United States, been duped by the United States, and Prime Minister Modi has gone ahead and redefined the fight against terror. And, while talking about now the conversation is only going to be taking place when it comes to terror or when it comes to POK. That is the message that, of course, reiterating the same message as Prime Minister Modi is Rajnath Singh, the defense minister there, talking about how the Prime Minister said that we will only talk on terror and we'll only talk on POK. We have Nazir joining us. Nazir, of course, a very significant visit of the defense minister, saluting the efforts of the armed forces, talking about the success of Operation Sindoor, and also reiterating every point that Prime Minister Modi has made.
Well, the big takeaway of today's address of Defense Minister Rajnath Singh to soldiers in Srinagar is that he has demanded, India is demanding that Pakistan's nuclear program, their nuclear sites and installations should be taken over by the IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency. This is a big demand by India Defense Minister. He has made this demand from Srinagar while addressing soldiers at 15 Corps headquarters. Just a while back, we heard him talking about it because there was a lot of buzz where there was some leak there at some nuclear site in Pakistan, lot of things, and India clearly said they will not submit to this nuclear blackmail, and IAEA should take over Pakistan's nuclear program or the nuclear sites which they have. So then he talks about the terror. He said that the ceasefire has been, understanding was reached after Pakistan agreed that there would be no future terror attacks, and he said if there are, any act of terrorism would be treated as an act of war. Earlier it was media reports, but now Defense Minister himself saying any terrorist attack in India would be treated as an act of war. Really a huge thing when we see Government Defense Minister himself talking about this, because militancy is not something which has disappeared in Jammu and Kashmir. Terrorists are here. Even those who killed innocent people in Pahalgam, they're still they are on run or they're hiding in the same area what security forces have been saying. So it was a very tough message from Defense Minister from Srinagar, and he said he wants to tell the world from Srinagar, look, this is how India is going to deal with terror. If they have tried to target us, Indian citizens here, where we are going to target, and it can happen again. So India has actually drawn a red line when it comes to dealing with terror. But this is a big statement from Defense Minister Rajnath Singh. One thing, we will not submit, we will not succumb to this nuclear blackmail, and then asking International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, to take over Pakistan's nuclear sites so that it would not use this nuclear blackmail, and then also talking about that how terror would be treated as any act of terror, incident of terror attack would be treated as an act of war. Defense Minister also talked about the courage of soldiers, how they have dealt with, how they have targeted Pakistan. He talked about the weaponry India has. He talked about all the things which were used. He talked about Operation Sindoor being historic one, which mission has been accomplished, how armed forces have accomplished this mission in essentially, if we say, in 4 days, and how things actually played out after Pahalgam terror attack. So it was a very strong message from the Defense Minister, and showing, telling the soldiers entire country is with them, and then he is with them. Defense Minister himself, Army Chief, was also there. So very strong speech and strong statement made by Defense Minister at Army's 15 Corps headquarters while addressing the soldiers, and the first visit after Operation Sindoor and the following the ceasefire understanding between two countries.
Absolutely, the first visit of the Defence Minister since Operation Sindoor. Also take us through what all is on the agenda. We do believe that he is reviewing the security situation on the ground while, he is interacting with the personnel, boosting their morale, giving them that pat on their back, saluting their efforts, and of course the sacrifices that have been made during Operation Sindoor.
Well, exactly. That was all expected, but nobody has expected that India would make this demand that the Pakistan's nuclear program should not remain with the Pakistan. That's India's demand. It has taken it at different level. India has made it reiterated that now the any terrorist act would be treated as an act of war. So, and it has said clearly that if Defense Minister, if anything happens, there would be a much worse thing. And what Defense Minister Rajnath Singh, if they try to do any mischief, then baat niklegi to dur talak jayegi. There would be very far-reaching consequences for Pakistan if they try to do anything. So, the Amarnath Yatra is around the corner, this annual pilgrimage. So clearly that would be part of Defense Ministers when he reviews the security situation. Army has been, when it comes to being in forefront in fight against militancy or providing security, as Defense Minister is here. An encounter is currently underway in Tral area of South Kashmir. One militant has been killed, two are still reportedly holed up, or they may have been killed by now. So that operation is underway. So militancy remains a challenge despite the ceasefire between India and Pakistan. Militants are here, whether it is Jammu region, which was free from militancy till few years back, but has become really hotbed and a biggest militancy challenge in Jammu and Kashmir. And after Pahalgam massacre, innocent killings there, it has really changed the security paradigm in Jammu and Kashmir.
Right, nuke safe with Pakistan is a question that Rajnath Singh is asking, and of course asking for international intervention there as well. Thank you so much, Nazir, for getting us those details. With that, we're slipping into a short break. Back with a whole lot more.
These are the visuals that are coming in. Let's go full frame with it.
For every big news story.
You can't defend the indefensible Ruchira Kamboj, but that's what Pakistan has been doing for a very long time.
We are sifting through a lot of information. Some is right, some is not right. But I think we are
India
right
tunes in to NDTV.
In fact, on NDTV, like we've been doing for the last few hours, we've been
for fast, clear and credible news.
We've also been, busting a lot of misinformation that's been coming in.
When I was standing on the road, I saw these lights going off in the sky, and I could hear
where credibility
sounds of like
comes
what sound
first.
like blasts happening.
When Pakistan started shelling and first shell landed here, you can see this.
Well, we have reached at ground zero, and this village is
NDTV. First, fast, factual.
If it matters to you, if it matters to you, if it matters to you, it matters to India. It matters to India. It matters to India. And it matters to me. And it matters to me.
India Matters with Shivaroop, only on NDTV 24/7.
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims? Is the outlook as rosy as the company claims? Know Your Company, powered by NDTV Profit Research, shines a light on the biggest stock market movers.
News is not just headlines, it is what impacts you. And news should never be mistaken for noise. What matters is the reality. Accurate, in-depth, and with the right perspective. For over 20 years, I have been a journalist, and never has clarity mattered more than now. At Newsnight, we go beyond the surface. We dissect the details, challenge the narratives, and bring you the unparalleled clarity you deserve in a world clouded by misinformation. We are bold, we are direct. Newsnight, for the news in your interest. Only on NDTV.
John Spencer is the Executive Director of the Urban Warfare Institute. He is also the co-author of Understanding Urban Warfare. He's joining us on. John, really appreciate your time. I've read your blog on Operation Sindoor and you have called it a decisive Indian victory in modern warfare. In your view, what were the primary strategic objectives of Operation Sindoor and how were they achieved? And let me ask an additional question to my first question. In what ways do you think India's response to the Pahalgam terror attack of 22nd April differed from its previous responses to similar terrorist incidents?
Sure, it's a great question. As somebody who studies war all around the world, it often is hard for people to understand what victory looks like. For Operation Sindoor, the objectives, of course, were a response to a terrorist attack on a sovereign nation. So, of course, the goal was to establish an immediate response to reestablish deterrence. So that's why in Operation Sindoor, their first goal, and this is where it's hard for people to understand what are all the political objectives. In war or under attack, it makes it hard for people to assess. But from my analysis, the immediate goal was, of course, respond to the attack, send a clear message that any such attacks will be stiffly responded to, which is an objective in of itself. And this is what India did with its immediate response within days, not weeks, months, within days, hitting the 9 terrorist camps attributed to this awful terrorist attack on Indian soil. But then the Pakistan military responded with a drone attack. So then that changes the political goal, which is, okay, now I need to deter not just a terrorist organization, which is backed by the state of Pakistan, to be clear, but also to deter a nation. So that changed, which is also normal in war, the goals. So the objective then becomes deterring basically a nuclear-armed nation, which is really, very complex to do. But I think India did that. It showed overwhelming military superiority in that goal to deter not just a terrorist, but the nation of Pakistan's military and government, basically showing military superiority of I can hit any target in Pakistan at will, and you can't hit any target here, but I'm going to be very discriminate on what I'm targeting, as in for India, which explains the control, demonstrating overwhelming military force, but also the ability to do what's necessary to achieve your political goal. But lastly, I think that this operation established a new doctrine that signals to both terrorists and their nation-state backers that India has a new doctrine that it will immediately respond. It will not be put under nuclear blackmail. It will immediately respond with overwhelming force to any attack and basically investing in its own security. You asked me about how this compared to like 2019 or what I've studied in a lot of detail, 2008. I've walked the ground of the Mumbai attacks, and surprisingly, after the Mumbai attacks where 166 people were killed, India's response was very on the political aspect, seeking international condemnation, international sanctions, things like that. And there wasn't a real military response. So this is why this is really a new Indian doctrine of, look, we'll use all forms of national power to secure our nation, but we'll also immediately respond, I don't care who you are, to attacks.
You have used a phrase military superiority. So let me ask you, how did India demonstrate that military superiority and strategic independence during this entire operation? And since you spoke about Prime Minister Narendra Modi unveiling a new security doctrine, how does it reshape India's approach to cross-border terrorism and, of course, the larger world?
Yeah, I mean, this is really, we say it in America lately, but I really believe it, peace through strength. So one is, deterrence, which is, at the national level. Deterrence is somebody doesn't do something against you because they fear the consequences. So deterrence requires capability and the will to do it. India demonstrated overwhelming military superiority when it struck the first 9 terrorist sites with very precisely the targets they wanted to hit without interruption. Then when the Pakistan military sent a drone swarm to Indian civilian areas and military sites, India responded with military action against military targets like radars and air defense systems without any interruption, without the loss of, despite the misinformation, of Indian military capabilities. That's an overwhelming demonstration, one, of the ability to hit any target it wants in Pakistan at will, despite Pakistan's Chinese air defense systems, but also India protected its sites. So that's the other demonstration of superiority, is when Pakistan sent capabilities towards India, not one of them hit their intended target. That's overwhelming military superiority. And you're right. I say one of the goals here was India establishing its independence as a very powerful nation when it got to the point within 4 days where Pakistan's asking for a ceasefire. It didn't seek international, United Nations, or anybody else's help in responding to the attack or achieving this peaceful end, which is, look, we've shown you what we can do. If you want to continue to escalate, which nobody wants to see, that level of national really clarity in operations, even against a nuclear armed state, which is like the nuclear saber rattling that we see around the world. Like, just because people have nuclear weapons, nobody wants nuclear war, but doesn't mean you get to send waves of terrorist attacks, which isn't even proxy warfare. They're coming from Pakistan. They're backed by Pakistan forces. That independence, that clarity in what will happen if this continues, is really unique in nations. So that's another one of the strategic goals achieved by India here, is what, beyond the military superiority, the Indian government, and Prime Minister Modi made it pretty clear in his recent statements, is independent, and they will respond immediately, but very controlled.
You have also said that post 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks, you were in India, you were in Mumbai to be specific. There has been a visible shift in the Modi era, particularly whenever there has been a terror attack. We know what happened post Uri, post Pulwama, and now post Pahalgam.
Yeah, it's a great question. And that, war is not just military capabilities, but it's also political will to achieve the goals. Absolutely, you can see just in the last few years an immense investment in especially Indian-made, Indian-produced military capabilities. But the ultimate test is war, and that's why even in the initial response, this test was a test of war and India's military capabilities. And that recent investment under Prime Minister Modi, has shown to be effective, but it's also about the will to respond. Now, comparing 2008 to 2025 is really hard because globally there are, shifts, but clearly India is at the front against global terrorism. I'm a hawk when it comes to terrorism. It shouldn't be accepted anywhere in the world. After the 2008 attacks, of course, the world was different. India was different. That's why I want to call out, this is a new India that's not prepared for last war, but is actually prepared for the next war through immense amount of strength in military investments, and their technologies showed to be superior, but also in political will, which is really hard to come by. There's a lot of risk in responding in any type of action, But there is also wisdom in that response if you know how to show the political will, but be constrained in the military action, but that is continuing to invest in your own national security, which is very important.
John, in your blog, you say that India was not fighting for vengeance, it was fighting for deterrence, and it worked. Is it really a deterrent here? Because you are dealing with a neighbor which fights through proxies. Although India did manage to communicate to the world rather effectively that outfits in Pakistan are inseparable from ISI and army because of the sheer presence of the Pakistani generals and senior officials of the administration during the funerals of terrorists who were killed in these strikes by India.
Yeah, no, I think that's one. This is where you get a lot of commentators that want to talk about revenge, vengeance, and that's, a sovereign free nation, democratic. I mean, that's not the way they operate. They operate within the laws of war, which is really hard for people to understand. Absolutely, deterrence is the way to achieve peace, and that's what non-terrorist, especially India, wants. They want peace. They want Pakistan to stop backing terrorists to attack India to pursue its goals, whether that's in Kashmir or just against India in general. That's really important to call out. But that doesn't mean that this is the last phase. This is basically a line in the sand for India saying the old, basically rules of the game are no longer in place. You're not going to send terrorists and arm and fund and train and send them into India for attacks. That's really important. But this is where you have to understand what were the goals of Operation Sindoor, what are the goals of India going forward, and that's why I think this is one of the few decisive operations of modern times. There are a few, maybe one other that I can think of, that shows clear goals, but also establishing a new doctrine, which isn't the end of the overall war against terrorism emanating out of Pakistan. And that's not just India's problem. That's the world's problem, and how they have allowed this to build, and the policies within the Pakistan government and the military that has been allowed to continue for various reasons. That's important to keep in mind when we start assessing what did India do, what is India's goals in this operation. Of course, its goals is peace.
Okay, a couple of questions to you. You've called it a comprehensive victory for India. Can you think of any parallels that are close to what India achieved both on the diplomatic and the military front in a fortnight of operations?
Not at that speed. No, not at 4 days, not with that level of superiority. The only other case, when I call something decisive, it has a very strong definition of somebody who teaches war. Decisive means it achieves the strategic goals for either side. And the only other parallel is the 2022 Battle of Kyiv, when Russia tried to take the nation of Ukraine, and they failed to do that. So that was a decisive defeat. But no, there's no parallel in just 4 days of being able to achieve strategic goals like this so decisively as India has.
My last question to you, John. Many are questioning the timing of the ceasefire. India has maintained that it was sought from Pakistan. And of course, it came after Pakistanis felt the brunt of Indian military right inside, destroying the air bases. Did it come too soon, the ceasefire, or was it the right thing to do?
No, I think personally, my assessment is, basically restraint is not weakness. India showed overwhelming strength and sent a clear message. Now, whether the terrorists or the Pakistan military or the Pakistan government received that message, I think that the operation, this is what goes until you achieve your goal. And I wrote about this in some of the articles I've written recently, where I've seen voices, to include on Indian TV, say, you shouldn't have stopped, you should have gone for a bigger goal. That's where you start to get into strategic, basically, mismatch of what the goal is versus what you're doing, the ways and means. I think India stopped exactly when they believe the message had been received, because the Pakistan government was reaching out looking for an off-ramp, and India provided it. So that's that's immense strength, in my opinion, of showing that you achieved your goal. We'll see where this goes, and I think that's important about whether this is a ceasefire or just a halt. And for me, I saw that message to the Indian military of course, you can respond to any attack that happens right now, which is important. No, I think they stopped exactly at the moment when they achieved the goal at this time.
All right, John Spencer, really appreciate your time here on NDTV. John Spencer, the Executive Director of the Urban Warfare Institute. Thank you for joining us here on NDTV. That's all from me. Divya joins you on the other side with all the news and updates.
Thank you so much, Maria, for getting us that very special interview in order to know how the world is viewing Operation Sindoor. That was a defense expert there talking about how, the world is viewing Operation Sindoor. Let's just also get you the latest when we talk about, the situation on the ground. And this is that the encounters that, Jammu and Kashmir has been facing. This is the second encounter that we have seen in a matter of 48 hours. There's been a deadly gun battle in Pulwama this morning, resulting in one terrorist being killed, while there are others who have been cornered. Now, this really comes on the heels of 3 terrorists being killed on Tuesday in the Shopian area. Now, this encounter that's taken place early this morning has been in the Pulwama area, in the Tral area of Avantipur. This is taken place as far as the southern part of Kashmir is concerned. Let's just listen in to what the authorities in Jammu and Kashmir, in fact,